AITA for ruining my boyfriend's friendship with his ex? When I first met Oliver, I didn't expect anything serious. We were just two people passing through a crowded room at a mutual friend's housewarming. He smiled at me like he already knew me, and I remember thinking it felt warm, like something safe. At the time, I was dating someone else, and so was he. But still, the connection lingered, quiet and strange, like something waiting. Months went by, and our friendships deepened. My relationship fell apart slowly. It was filled with constant miscommunications, nights spent apart, and the kind of silence that doesn't feel peaceful. We broke up in late fall. I was heartbroken, but not surprised. Around the same time, Oliver also left his partner. We never spoke about what was going on between us until the winter. That's when we finally crossed the line. I told myself it was just once, that it didn't mean anything, that I was confused. But the truth is, I knew exactly what I was doing, and I think he did too. He said he felt seen with me, like I understood the parts of him he never talked about. He had been teased a lot when he was younger. He hated how he looked, never smiled in pictures, always wore a hoodie even in the summer. One of the first things he ever said to me was that he only showed his face to people he trusted, and I never shared it. I kept that part of him to myself, like it was something sacred. Then came Mia. She was his friend at first. Then suddenly, they were dating. He told me about it like it was a decision he had to make, not something he wanted. But I saw how close they were. They laughed together like nothing had ever gone wrong in their lives. He called her his best friend, and I tried to accept it because I wasn't his girlfriend, just someone who used to be. But it hurt, more than I wanted to admit. I found out that Mia had shared his photos with people he didn't know. She showed me one once, said it was no big deal. But to Oliver, it was everything. When I told him the truth, he didn't yell or cry. He just stared out the window and said, "Why would she do that?" After that, things fell apart for them. They broke up a few months later. He said it was about time, that he was too busy. But I knew it was about trust, about feeling exposed. That's when we got back together. And this time, it was real. We said we'd try for something steady, something safe. But Mia never really went away. She sent him little messages, shared old jokes. He didn't always respond, but he never blocked her either. I asked him once if he still loved her. He didn't say no. He said, "It's different now." That answer stayed with me. I started noticing things. He'd post group photos where she was always in the middle. He'd laugh a little longer at her comments. Once, I saw him like one of her selfies before he liked mine. I know it sounds silly, but when you already feel like a backup plan, every tiny detail feels sharp. I confronted him about the promise. We had agreed he wouldn't say, "I love you" to her anymore, even in public jokes. But he did. In a comment thread, it broke me. He said it meant nothing, that it was just habit, but it didn't feel like nothing to me. I cried that night, quietly, next to him in bed while he scrolled on his phone. He didn't notice. I've tried to be understanding. I've tried to remind myself that he chose me, but I can't help but feel like he still sees her as the version of happiness he lost. And I'm just the one who stayed, the one who kept his secrets, the one who didn't show his face. I don't know if I'm wrong for feeling this way. I don't know if it makes me clingy or insecure or controlling, but I feel like I'm constantly holding my breath, waiting for him to drift back into her world. And I wonder, if he had to choose again, would it still be me? So, am I wrong for feeling like I'll never be the first choice? Am I the one to blame for not trusting someone who keeps one foot in the past? I don't want to cry every time I see her name pop up on his screen, but I do, and I just don't know what that makes me anymore. Dating someone who still lets their ex linger in the comments like a ghost haunting the Wi-Fi? That's not open-minded. That's streaming past trauma in HD. And liking her selfie before yours? That's not an algorithm problem. That's a priorities glitch. Let's talk about this whole "it's different now" line. That phrase is the relationship equivalent of hitting the snooze button on your emotions. It's not different. It's just wearing a hat and pretending to be someone else. You ever try being the understanding partner for too long? That's how people end up writing poems about how their plants are the only ones who listen. You're not clingy, you're observant. You're not overreacting. You just know what red flags look like without having to color correct them. And trust is like a phone battery. If you keep running apps in the background, hi Mia, don't act shocked when it suddenly dies at 4 p.m. Pro tip. If someone makes you feel like a placeholder instead of a partner, don't wait for clarity. Just send yourself flowers and unsubscribe from the drama. Final thought. Love should feel like breathing easy, not like you're trying to win a staring contest with a memory. Story 2. AITA for telling my husband he can't go on a trip with his reckless brother? When I married Mark, I knew that his family came with baggage, but I told myself that love was worth it. I believed that if we stayed honest with each other and made decisions together, we could work through anything. That belief has been tested more times than I expected, but nothing quite like this. Mark's older brother, Tyler, has always lived life on the edge. He moves fast, talks fast, and never seems to think about tomorrow. Over the years, I've learned to stay polite when he's around, but I've never fully trusted him. It's not just that he's unpredictable. unpredictable. It's the kind of people he associates with, the decisions he makes, and the way he never seems to care about the consequences. A few nights ago, Mark came to me and said Tyler had asked him to travel with him overseas. I paused and asked, for what? Mark hesitated. He said Tyler wanted to meet with a supplier for his business. He didn't say what kind of business, but we both knew. Tyler doesn't sell furniture. Mark admitted that Tyler had offered to pay him to go along, to help navigate, to help watch his back. Mark said Tyler told him to ask me first, but that when he did, Tyler scoffed and said something like, "Why do you need permission?" That alone told me everything I needed to know. I told Mark I wasn't comfortable with it. I said it slowly, clearly, gently. I told him I didn't think it was safe, that it wasn't just about the country or the language or the unknowns. It was about the risk, the people, the purpose. I reminded him that Tyler has a way of pulling people into situations they can't get out of. I told him this wasn't just another weekend road trip. It was something serious. Mark didn't yell. He didn't argue, but he got quiet, and I could feel the disappointment in the room like thick air. He said Tyler really needed him. He said it would only be for a few days. I asked him, is a few days worth it if something goes wrong? I told him we made a life together, that we share everything now, including the risks. I said I wasn't trying to control him. I was trying to protect him, that I didn't trust Tyler to do that. I could tell he was torn. He looked at me the way someone looks at a locked door, not knowing whether to knock again or walk away. A day passed, then another. He didn't bring it up again, but I knew he was still thinking about it. I saw him checking his phone, reading messages he did talk about. I knew Tyler was pressuring him. I knew money was part of it. I asked him last night if he was angry with me. He said no, but I could feel the distance. I told him I loved him, and he said he loved me too, but he looked tired, like someone trying to choose between two lives. I don't know if I did the right thing. I don't know if saying no made me protective or unfair. I just know that if he had gone and something had happened, I would never forgive myself for staying silent. I told him again this morning, I want you safe. That's all I want. He nodded, kissed me, and left for work without saying much. So now I sit here, wondering if I made the right call. Wondering if protecting someone means trusting them even when you're scared, or if it means being the one to say no when they can't see the danger. I didn't say no because I don't believe in him. I said no because I know how easily things can spiral when people don't think ahead. I said no because I love him, but maybe I'll never know if that was enough. Marriage, the lifelong group project where one person always wants to turn it in early, and the other keeps texting with a sibling named Tyler who sounds like he stores Red Bull in his bloodstream. That, let's be real, any business trip that involves vague suppliers, shady passports, and a guy who treats consequences like mythical creatures, that's not entrepreneurship. That's Netflix docuseries prequel energy. Tyler sounds like the kind of dude who would describe a helicopter escape as plan B and think international law is just a suggestion. If he ever said, it'll be fine, then you already know it absolutely won't. Mark's dilemma is classic. Loyalty to family versus survival instincts. One gives you warm fuzzies. The other keeps you off Interpol's radar. And that silent tension, that I'm fine energy, that's the married person equivalent of hearing a smoke alarm and choosing to toast another bagel anyway. You didn't say no to be controlling. You said no because nobody wants their spouse to end up on a tarmac shaking hands with someone named Slavic Pete. Relationship tip of the day. If the plan involves secrecy, weird texts, or someone whispering, don't tell anyone. The correct move is cancel, not carry on. You're not unfair. You're the emergency brake on a train heading for a suspicious jungle border. Story 3. AITA for not wanting to keep watching my mom's boyfriend's kids. For most of my life, it was just me and my mom. After my dad passed, everything changed, but we got through it together. I was 5 then, and now I'm 15. Somewhere along the way, it just became normal to do things with just the two of us. We had routines, quiet evenings, small jokes that only we understood. 6 years ago, my mom decided to grow our family. She chose to have my little brother through a donor. I remember the day she told me. I didn't understand all of it, but I was excited. I love my brother more than anything. I've helped with diapers, midnight bottles, story time. I never minded. Not once. Then, a couple years ago, my mom met someone new. His name is Sean. He started coming over a lot. At first, I tried to give him a chance, but I quickly noticed things I couldn't ignore. He'd laugh too loud at things that weren't funny. He'd say stuff that made me uncomfortable, especially about people like me. I'm gay, and even though I haven't told many people, I've told my mom. Sean says things about people like me that he tries to play off as jokes, but they don't feel like jokes. They feel like little reminders that I'm not safe around him. He also smokes and drinks more when he's with my mom. She used to only have a glass of wine now and then. Now she laughs harder, stays out later, and I don't always recognize the way she talks when he's around. Sean has kids of his own, 4 of them. One is almost my age, but doesn't come around. 2 little girls, 4 and 2, and a 6-year-old boy who's close to my brother's age. They come over often. The house gets loud. Toys are everywhere. Bedtimes get forgotten, and I end up being the one who watches them. At first, they'd ask. My mom or Sean would say, "Do you mind keeping an eye on them?" And I'd say yes, because I like helping. I like knowing I can make my brother happy, that I can be there for him. But slowly, they stopped asking. They'd just leave. leave. Sometimes they'd say, "We'll be back in a bit," and hours would go by. The kids would cry, spill food, fight over toys, and I'd just try to hold it all together. I wasn't getting paid anymore. It wasn't occasional. It was becoming a pattern. Every weekend, every night, they wanted time to themselves. I tried to bring it up gently. I told my mom once that it felt like a lot. She said, "You're so good with them. They love you." And that was it. Like being good with kids meant I didn't get to say no. But I don't remember signing up to be a babysitter every time Sean brings his kids over. I didn't choose this. I didn't ask for it. I love my brother. I'd do anything for him. But I don't think it's fair that because I'm quiet and helpful, they assume I'll always say yes. The little girls are sweet, but they're not mine. Sean is not my dad, and I don't owe him anything. I miss how things were before, when our house was calm, when my mom looked at me with clear eyes and listened. Now I feel like I'm just another part of her relationship with him, a piece that's supposed to help everything work smoothly. But I'm tired. I'm still a kid too. I still have school and stress and things I'm figuring out about myself. So, am I wrong for saying I don't want to do this anymore? Am I selfish for wanting my time back, for wanting to be her daughter again, not her helper? I don't want to hurt anyone. I just want to be seen, really seen, because right now I feel invisible, and I don't think that's okay. The surprise twist no one asks for, like opening a juice box and getting espresso. You're 15, not a live-in au pair hired through emotional guilt and leftover macaroni. Let's unpack this. You're basically running a free daycare powered by teen spirit and quiet size. And Sean, he sounds like the human version of terms and conditions, shows up uninvited, says things no one reads properly, and leaves you with weird regrets. Also, using "you're so good with them" as a parenting strategy? That's not a compliment. That's how unpaid internships are born. Next time someone tells you that, smile sweetly and respond, "Cool, so where's my W-2? And these jokes Sean makes, they're not funny. They're red flags dressed up in fake laughter. If sarcasm's the shield of cowards, he's building a medieval castle. By the way, if babysitting was in the job description, you'd at least get juice boxes with your name on them and time and a half for cleaning Play-Doh out of someone else's nose. That you're not selfish. You're setting boundaries. Big difference between helpful sibling and emotional support step-parent. Who didn't vote in this election? Wanting your mom back? That's not immature. That's human. Everyone deserves someone who listens without checking their phone for Sean's next bad idea. In conclusion, you're not invisible. You're just surrounded by people squinting at the wrong person. But trust me, one day they'll realize you weren't the help. You were the backbone. And you deserve a life that includes algebra, friends, snacks, and maybe not cleaning someone else's glitter puke off your hoodie. Before we move on to the next story, don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, tell us your favorite story in the comments. And if you have your own story to share, let us know down there too. Story 4. AITA for telling my best friend I need a break from her complaints about work. Lena and I have been best friends since we were 12. We met in middle school and stuck together through everything. School dances, college choices, breakups, family drama. We've laughed so hard we cried and cried so hard we couldn't speak. I've always felt lucky to have her in my life. We even ended up working at the same dental office after she finished her program. She became a hygienist, and I took a job at the front desk while I figured out what I wanted next. At first, it was fun. We'd have lunch together, share jokes between patients, and walk home side by side talking about everything and nothing. But after a while, things started to feel different. Lena wasn't happy. She told me she felt underpaid, that she worked too hard for what she earned, that her degree was supposed to mean more. I understood. I really did. I could see how tired she was. I listened, nodded, and reminded her of her worth. I encouraged her to speak with our manager or start looking for new opportunities. I offered to help her redo her resume. She appreciated it. But the next day, and the day after that, the complaints returned. The same words, just reshuffled. She was still upset, and I still listened. But something began to shift in me. I started feeling like our friendship had become one-sided. Like I was holding space for her every day, but mine was always full. She never asked how I was doing. She didn't notice when I looked drained. Sometimes she wouldn't even say hello before diving into the latest rant. I didn't blame her. I knew how much it hurt to feel overlooked and undervalued. But I also felt like I was drowning in her frustration, and I didn't know how to say that without sounding cruel. I started zoning out during our conversations, nodding on autopilot, smiling even when I felt invisible. I missed how we used to laugh about silly things, how she used to ask about my goals, even if I didn't have clear answers. Now, every conversation felt heavy. I thought about talking to her, about telling her gently that I needed space from the topic, that I loved her, but I couldn't keep being her outlet without breaking a little myself. But then I'd feel guilty, because friends are supposed to be there, and she was always there for me when I needed her. So I stayed quiet, and the weight grew. Last week, during lunch, she went on another long rant. I was tired. My head hurt. I had just found out I didn't get into a program I applied to, and I hadn't even told her yet. I opened my mouth to say something, but she didn't notice. She just kept talking. That's when I knew something had to change. I haven't said anything yet. I keep going back and forth. I don't want to hurt her. I don't want her to feel abandoned, but I also want to be honest. I want our friendship to be a place where both of us can breathe. So, would I be wrong if I told her I'm getting tired of hearing about work all the time? Does that make me a bad friend, or does it make me human? I still care about her deeply, but I'm starting to feel like I'm losing myself in her sadness, and I don't know how much longer I can carry both of us in silence. Lena turned the Vibe into a sadness subscription service and forgot to ask if you wanted auto-renew. Sure, you care. Sure, she's hurting. But this ain't the Lena monologue show featuring occasional audience participation from you. There's a difference between supporting someone and being their unpaid therapist with no couch, no license, and a lunch break spent rethinking your life. And let's talk about that friends are supposed to be their guilt. That's true, unless there starts meaning permanently trapped in someone else's ventriloquist routine. You're not a soundboard with feelings. You're a person with dreams and sinus pressure and goals that deserve airtime. Also, the fact that you didn't get into that program and she didn't even notice? Girl, that's not friendship. That's background noise with a pulse that next time she launches into another workplace woe-a-thon, just say, "Oh no, I left the empathy in my other hoodie," and walk away slowly while eating a banana. Confusion buys time. You're not mean. You're not selfish. You're just realizing that one-way streets don't lead to healthy friendships. You can't fill someone else's emotional tank with your last drop of patience. It's not about choosing between love and honesty. It's realizing real love needs honesty. Otherwise, it's just quiet resentment and matching scrubs. Story 5. AITA for never reconnecting with my dad's family after growing up in a care home. When I was 5, my parents split up. I stayed with my mom. She was the quiet kind of strong. We didn't have much, but our little apartment felt like home. When she got sick, she hid most of it from me. She didn't want me to worry. She passed away when I was 7. That night, I remember sitting on the edge of a hospital bed, holding her hand, not understanding what it meant to not go home with her. After that, I was told I'd live with my father. I barely remembered him. He had come around once or twice, but he never stayed long. The day I moved into his house, it was loud. There were people everywhere. Music, smoke, strange faces. I didn't feel safe. I was 7, and I started sleeping under a blanket in a closet just to find quiet. He didn't hit me, but he didn't really see me either. He had women coming and going. Parties almost every night. People used drugs in the open. I was invisible unless I was in the way. If I said something too loud or got upset, he yelled. It didn't take long before a neighbor called someone. I remember the knock on the door, the way he shrugged and said, "Take him. I've got stuff to do." I didn't cry. I just walked outside with the social worker and didn't look back. From there, I went into a residential care home, not a foster family, just a place with too many kids and not enough staff. I had a lot of anger. I couldn't trust anyone. I stopped speaking much and started throwing things instead. They said I needed time. Time came and went. No one from my father's side ever called or visited. Not until I was 16. That's when he showed up again. He brought a woman. Her name was Clara. She seemed kind, overly kind, like she was trying to make up for something. With her were 2 little kids. She said they were my siblings. I didn't say a word to them. She kept talking about bringing me home. She showed me pictures of the kids holding up signs they made. She said I had a place in their family. I told my caseworker I didn't want to see them again. I couldn't pretend to be okay with strangers who called themselves my family. Clara kept writing for a while, letters I never opened. Then she stopped. I turned 18. I aged out. I worked nights and studied in the mornings. I built a life that felt mine. It wasn't perfect, but it was steady. I learned how to save money, how to make dinner, how to sleep through the night without locking the door. I didn't reach out to anyone from my past. I didn't want to. A few weeks ago, I got engaged. My fiancé made a post about it. The next day, I got a message from Clara. She said she had watched from a distance, hoping I'd reach out. She said I owed it to my family to reconnect, that her kids deserved to know me, that she had tried to give me a chance and I had thrown it away. She called me selfish. I didn't respond. She messaged again and again. Each time, her words got colder. I blocked her, but I haven't stopped thinking about it. I've wondered if others would see me as bitter, as someone who couldn't move on. But the truth is, I did move on. I built a life from nothing. I gave myself stability, safety, and peace. And I don't think I owe that to anyone who walked away when I was a scared little boy in a stranger's house. So, am I wrong for never looking back? For not opening the door when someone who wasn't there before knocks now? I don't think I am. I think I'm just someone who protected their own peace. And maybe that has to be enough. Your dad saying, "Take him, I've got stuff to do." That's not a parent. That's someone who treats parenting like a gym membership. Signs up, disappears, then gets mad when results don't magically appear, and then Clara shows up like it's a Hallmark movie reboot. Surprise, you've got siblings, and we've been emotionally scrapbooking your pain. Ma'am, this is a Wendy's. Let's clarify something. being biologically related doesn't mean someone earns a front row seat to your life. DNA isn't a VIP pass. It's just science. Emotional presence, that's the real currency. Also, messaging someone after a decade of silence and saying, "You owe us." Girl, the audacity wasn't just loud. It came with background dancers and a fog machine. Blocking her? Self-care. Protecting your peace? Nobel-worthy. Living your life without reopening wounds to satisfy someone's redemption arc? That's boundaries. Baby. Healing doesn't require a reunion tour. You're not a sequel. You're a standalone masterpiece. Oh no, you're not bitter. You're not broken. You're not cruel. You're just done auditioning for roles in a story you never signed up to star in. And getting engaged? That's your new chapter. One written by you. No ghosts. No guilt. Just growth. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk forward without glancing at the door behind you, even if someone's out there yelling, "But we bought balloons." Before we move on to the next story, don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, tell us your favorite story in the comments, and if you have your own story to share, let us know down there too. Story 6. AITA for ending my friendship after a painful group fallout. There were 5 of us who used to talk almost every day. We met online, and over time it felt like we had built something close, something warm. It was me, Ellie, Sam, June, and Alex. I was the newest in the group, but they made me feel welcome. We played games together, shared songs, watched shows over Discord, and sometimes just sat in voice calls without saying much at all. It felt like a little piece of comfort I could rely on after long days. One weekend, Ellie and Sam watched the first episode of a new show and invited the rest of us to join them from the second. They even offered to rewatch the first one. Most of us were fine with that, but Alex got upset. He messaged Ellie directly and told her he felt left out. That was the first time I realized he might be holding on to something deeper than just a missed episode. He later said he wanted to have a group talk about it. He said we all needed to be open and find a way to fix things. We agreed to talk at 9 that night. I had work the next morning, and I know Sam and Ellie had early classes, but we waited. Alex kept pushing the time. When he finally joined at almost midnight, he didn't say sorry. He just sighed and said, "Let's get this over with." I stayed quiet at first, just listening. Then he started talking about me. He said I stole his friends, that everyone treated me like I was the center of everything. He brought up my mental health, said I made everything about me, that people gave me too much attention. He said I was once like a big sister to him, but now I was closer to everyone else, and he felt abandoned. I didn't know how to respond. Right away, I got emotional, not out of guilt, but because it hurt. I told him I never tried to replace him, that I joined voice chats when I could, that I had my own struggles, and I was just more open about them, that the others had asked me to be honest if I wasn't doing well, and that I trusted them enough to share. I told him I never meant to take anyone from him, that there was room for all of us. He told me that our situations were different, that I didn't understand how hard he worked, that it wasn't fair to compare how we showed up in the group. Then he brought up messaging. He said I never replied, but the last message between us was sent by me months ago. I'm not someone who often reaches out first, but even so, I had tried. Then he started complaining about everyone else, said we all talked over him, said we didn't respect him, said he was tired of being ignored. Then he asked what compromises we would make to stay friends with him. Ellie had stayed quiet most of the time, but that was her breaking point. She said, "I'm done. Good night," and left. Alex left soon after. Then Sam, June, and I sat there in silence before we signed off too. That was 2 months ago. He reached out to Ellie once since then. He said his depression was bad, that he wanted to explain, but he didn't know how. I don't hate him. I never did. But after that night, I couldn't keep pretending everything was fine. I stopped replying. I removed him from my friend list. I felt heavy about it, like cutting off a part of something I had once really cared for. But it also brought peace. I didn't have to worry about being picked apart. I didn't have to feel guilty for having emotions or support. I still think about the times when things were easy, when we laughed late into the night. But I also remember how it felt to be told that my struggles were too loud, that my presence was a problem. So I ask myself now, am I the bad one for letting go of that friendship? For choosing my own calm over his need to control the group? I don't know what others would say. I only know that sometimes, even with history, it's okay to choose yourself. And that doesn't make you cruel. It just means you're finally listening to what you need. Online friend group, equal parts therapy circle, gaming guild, and occasionally emotional WWE. Alex showed up at 12:30 like it was a hostage negotiation, not a heart-to-heart. Bro logged in late and chose drama with a side of projection. You don't start a group meeting about feelings with "let's get this over with." This isn't jury duty and nobody's getting paid. Accusing someone of stealing friends in a Discord server? That's like blaming someone for breathing too loudly in a public park. It's friendship, not monopoly. You can't call dibs on human beings. Also, bring bringing up someone's mental health in a group call like it's an Uno reverse card? Not. Just rude, emotionally flagrant foul. You don't drop, "You're too open about your pain," as if the group didn't literally ask for honesty. That's like getting mad at a fish for swimming in water you invited it into. Let's talk about the compromises thing. Asking people to negotiate their personalities to keep a friendship? That's not community. It's cult application behavior with bad customer service. That you're not heartless for disconnecting. You're just not signing up for season 4 of The Alex Show. Now with more guilt trips. And yes, there were good memories. But nostalgia is tricky. It shows you the highlight reel and hides the bloopers, the emotional side quests, the late-night anxiety pings. Friendship isn't about staying loyal to discomfort out of tradition. It's about mutual care, shared effort, and not having to apologize for existing with feelings. Choosing your peace doesn't mean you failed the friendship. It means you finally passed self-respect 101. Caps, gowns, and exit buttons for everyone. Story 7. AITA for breaking up with my girlfriend after feeling like a symbol instead of her partner. I met her during a volunteer event at a local shelter. She stood out in every way. She was loud, bright, full of energy, and completely unapologetic about her beliefs. She was someone who always seemed to know what she stood for. At first, I admired that. I'm quieter, more reserved. I care about people and issues too, but I keep things private. I grew up in a house where emotions weren't always safe to express, so I learned to stay still and observe. She was different. She wanted to be seen, heard, and followed. When we started dating, I felt like I was stepping into her world. She would call me these pet names that were tied to my skin color. At first, it felt endearing. I thought it was her way of showing affection. She'd say things like, "My beautiful bronze man," or "My sunshine in brown." I didn't love it, but I let it slide. I didn't want to ruin something that felt special. Over time, it became more than just nicknames. She started posting pictures of us online, adding captions that made me feel like I was part of a message. Things like proof that love knows no borders, or "my brown and proud partner." She'd use hashtags about activism, about justice, about identity. It was never just a picture of us. It was always something for the world to read into. I started to feel like I wasn't part of a relationship. I was part of a campaign. She told people I came from struggle, that I had a difficult past, that I knew what it meant to fight. But that wasn't true. I had a normal upbringing, nothing dramatic. Her version of me didn't match the real me. And when I tried to explain, she brushed it off. She said I was missing the bigger picture, that she was proud of me, that she wanted the world to see our love. I wanted her to see me, not what I represented, not what I could add to her image, just me. One night, I told her I felt like I was fading in the middle of all the attention, that I felt small in a relationship where I was supposed to feel held. She got upset, told me I didn't understand her love language, told me I was being dramatic, that I should be honored to be loved so publicly. But it didn't feel like love. It felt like being watched, being shaped into something I never agreed to be. I remembered one conversation where she said, "You know, I've done a lot for people like you." I didn't know how to respond. I didn't want to argue. I just stood there, quiet, as the weight of those words settled in. People like me. What does that even mean when I'm standing right in front of you? I left quietly. No fight, no screaming. I packed a bag and told her I needed time. She didn't stop me. She just cried. I think she thought I would come back. Her friends say I misunderstood her, that I should have been grateful, that she was proud of our love and wanted the world to see it. But I think love should make you feel safe, not displayed. I miss her sometimes. I won't lie. There were moments between us that were real and soft and kind. I even miss her parents. Her father always treated me with warmth. He once told me, "You're the calm in the storm." I think he saw more than she did. I didn't leave because I didn't care. I left because I did. Because I needed to feel like a person in my own relationship. Not a title, not a movement, not someone's proof of progress. Just someone to love and be loved in return. So I ask myself now, am I wrong for walking away from something that made me feel invisible? I don't think I am. I think I was just tired of pretending that being loved and being shown off are the same thing. Dating someone whose vibe is part soulmate, part walking TED Talk. Honestly, your relationship started feeling less rom-com and more PowerPoint presentation with emotional transitions. Pet names are supposed to make you smile, not make you Google, "Is this secretly a hashtag?" If someone calls you Bronze Bay and you feel like you're starring in an awards show about yourself, something's off. And the Instagram captions? Phew, those weren't declarations of love. Those were public service announcements with lighting filters. Imagine trying to eat lunch and suddenly you're a metaphor for global healing. Like, "Ma'am, I just want my sandwich, not a movement." When she said, "I've done a lot for people like you," I felt the collective cringe of 10,000 ancestors. That's not love language. That's colonizer energy disguised as compliments. If someone sees your skin tone before your soul, they're dating a character, not a human. Look, it's not wrong to want privacy. Love doesn't need a billboard. It needs soft spaces, not slogans. You wanted a connection, not to be drafted into someone's activist aesthetic. The worst part? You weren't asking for silence, just genuineness. Like, like. Maybe post a picture where the caption isn't an essay that sounds like a term paper on performative affection and her friends calling you ungrateful. That's like handing someone a neon sign with your face on it and saying, "Why aren't you more thankful for this blinding light of affection?" You didn't leave because you were unappreciative. You left because you were exhausted from being everyone's symbol but no one's priority. You deserve to be loved like a person, not paraded like a point. If love's real, it sees you, not just the optics. Story 8. AITA for flirting with someone after my girlfriend introduced me as just a friend. My girlfriend and I have been together for over 2 years. We moved to a new city not too long ago so she could start a new job, and it's been a period of adjustment for both of us. She's been busy settling in, meeting new people, and finding her place in a different work environment. I've been trying to support her in every way I can. I thought we had a strong understanding of each other. We've been through ups and downs like any couple, but I always believed we respected and stood by each other. A couple nights ago, she had a get-together at a bar with her new coworkers. She forgot her phone charger, and since her phone uses an older cable, I brought her the spare power bank we keep at home. It wasn't a big gesture, just something thoughtful to help her out. When I got there and walked up to their table, one of her colleagues asked who I was. Before I could even open my mouth, she quickly said, "Oh, he's my friend." Just like that. No pause, no hesitation. My name was added in like I was a helpful neighbor, not someone who had shared her life and home for over 2 years. I stood there for a second, stunned. I looked at her and said, "Friend?" And she just laughed, not in a warm way, but more like brushing it off, and thanked me. Then she waved at me like she expected me to leave. One of the co-workers, probably trying to be nice, said I could join them for a bit. I agreed, though I could already sense she wasn't happy about that. I sat down anyway. People were friendly. They asked about me, where I'm from, what I do. It was clear that many of them didn't even know I existed. She had never mentioned me. I noticed something else too. Whenever the conversation started drifting towards how we met or our relationship, she would jump in and steer it away. She'd offer just enough to keep things factual, but there was no mention of us being a couple. Nothing romantic. It was like I was an old college buddy who dropped by. I felt invisible. More than that, I felt small. I wanted to leave, but I didn't want to cause a scene. Then one of the co-workers, who had a few drinks by that point, joked, saying she never told them she had such a good-looking friend. Everyone laughed, even my girlfriend. Something in me snapped a little, so I smiled and said, I didn't know she had such a beautiful colleague either. It got a few more laughs, especially from the girl who made the joke, but my girlfriend's face changed immediately. She went quiet. Someone joked that she must be a great matchmaker. She didn't say much after that. I left not long after. The whole night just sat in my chest like a weight. When she came home later, she wouldn't speak to me. The next day, she said I had kind of cheated on her and that I'd really hurt her. I told her I understood that what I said might have crossed a line, but that she needed to realize how painful it was for me to be treated like I didn't matter. I told her it wasn't just a label. It was about dignity, about being seen and acknowledged. She said she didn't mean anything by it, that it was just easier to say I was a friend because her coworkers were all from the same background and might react strangely to her dating someone from a different race, that she didn't want to get into it with them, that she was just awkward. But I couldn't help thinking it wasn't awkwardness. It was shame, like I wasn't good enough to be introduced properly, like I didn't fit into whatever image she wanted to present, and that hurt more than anything. I told her I wouldn't apologize until she understood what she did. She still thinks I was mean and overreacting. I keep wondering if I should have just let it go. But deep down, I know that I wasn't just standing up for myself in that moment. I was trying to remind her that love is not supposed to be hidden, that I deserve to be seen, and that being someone's partner means you don't have to pretend, not even for one night. Nothing screams healthy relationship like your partner introducing you as if you're the mailman who wandered into the bar holding a portable charger and a broken heart. Seriously, being downgraded from my love to that helpful guy. With electricity in under 5 seconds, Olympic-level emotional gymnastics. And let's address the whole awkward around coworkers excuse. Ma'am, this isn't a spy mission. You don't have to go undercover with your own boyfriend. You're not Jason Bourne. You're just embarrassed? Because if saying, "This is my boyfriend," feels like smuggling contraband, maybe unpack that, not the menu. Also, her reaction afterward, calling you the cheater because you made one flirtatious comeback after being publicly demoted to emotional. Support USB cable? Nah, that's like stepping on someone's foot and yelling at them for limping that you didn't cross the line. You walked toward the line, looked at it sadly, and handed it a protein bar because it looked as exhausted as your dignity. And the part about your race being a reason? Look, if someone's love for you can't survive around their coworkers, what happens when you meet her parents? Are you going to be introduced as her uber driver who stuck around for dinner. You weren't asking for fireworks and hand-holding, just a little recognition. A tiny label, like even my partner would have been fine. Heck, my emotional landlord would have felt better than friend. You're not dramatic. You're not disloyal. You're just allergic to invisibility. You were never the problem, just the spotlight. She wasn't brave enough to stand in.so. Raise that power bank high, king, because you brought more than a charger. You brought self-respect. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Tell us your favorite story in the comments, and feel free to share your own story too.